Hey guys, before we jump into this episode, we just want to give you a little bit of a backstory. So, this episode we recorded the first week of March, actually March 2nd, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken,
Before the world, when the world was different.
when the world was different as we knew it. So, we've put several episodes that are a little more timely up ahead of this one. But now that we're going to this new normal, as they say, we wanted to go back to this episode because it's actually a really good one. And with downtime that we have, this
Yeah.
is a great episode.
You have time to work on the words on your website. So this is good.
Exactly. So, just in case it seems like we're avoiding current events,
When we seem all happy and chipper.
we actually do seem a lot happier these days than the more recent episodes. But we wanted to give you a little backstory so you knew why.
Enjoy.
Episode 161, Why the Words Matter on Your Website. This Week in Weddings is a support group for wedding industry entrepreneurs.
We're the ones behind the scenes, planning and designing the event, arranging the flowers, creating the invitations, or taking the photographs for a couple's most important day ever. No pressure.
If you've been in the wedding industry for more than a minute, you know it's not all cake and confetti. Running a wedding business is hard, and it's certainly not for the faint of heart.
This Week in Weddings is where we catch up on this often crazy but amazing industry and share tips on how to be a better business owner, all while supporting each other along the way.
You're listening to This Week in Weddings with Kimberly Rhodes and Annie Roach. Hi guys, I'm Kimberly Rhodes, owner of Hitched Events.
And I'm Annie Roach, owner of 5x7 Designs.
Welcome back to This Week in Weddings. So we are talking about words and websites, and Annie, I feel like this is the perfect episode.
I have a big announcement, guys. I mean, cue the trumpet slants.
Do.
Do-do-do-do. I'm going to release the doves.
Oh, I did the drum sound, but that's like a funny drum sound. I thought it was like a drum roll drum sound.
That's appropriate.
Sorry.
But a bumch. But my website is up.
Annie, we've been talking about this since, let's see, our podcast launched in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
It is now 2020.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it approximately every third episode until you started getting annoyed that I brought it up. So then it went to like every other month.
I was afraid the listeners were getting annoyed too. But I feel like we did, I think a year ago, I made a promise that it was going to be up a year ago. So I'm just a year late. I think I had March 1st, 2019 as a target.
No, that was the second target. There was another episode where you were like December 2017. But you know what? Better late than never, as they say.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah,
I am very proud of you.
I'm getting into the 2000s, guys, with my website.
Okay, so I do have a question, and this is kind of deep. But
Yes.
what do you think was, and I'm saying this because now I'm working with a business coach.
Mm-hmm.
What took you so long? Because it wasn't like you didn't want to do it because you were talking about doing it for years. So like what took you so long?
Well,
and I mean this in the most loving
No.
way.
That is a good question. I would always kind of put myself at kind of, bottom of the list and put other people, clients first, family first. But also I feel like there's something kind of holding me back where like once I had my website, I had to have all my other shit together with business. I don't know. So like I couldn't use that as an excuse. So I feel like by doing this now, it was really holding me back, which is weird. I don't know if it was just like I feel like I didn't have everything else together, so I didn't want that to be good. It's a
that's
psychological
interesting.
thing. I don't know, but now that but it's funny now that I've got that up, I feel like I've put a lot of
Like
other
you're legit.
things into works too that I've been holding back on too.
Yeah.
So maybe I was just scared to have everything to kind of. I was scared of change.
Interesting. Okay, I kind of have a theory.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that you are similar to me in that you want it to be perfect before you do it.
Yeah.
And like you've said more recently that you're like, I don't like to put myself out there for things I know I'm not going to be great at.
Mm.
And I feel like you were kind of waiting till it was perfect to do anything at all.
Well, it wasn't per se perfect. Like I mean, you guys can go look at it. It's nothing. It's not rocket
Don't be it's
scientist.
beautiful.
It's
Don't
it's it's
don't beat
it's
yourself. Don't.
exactly what I need. But I think I was also I really just didn't really have a vision of where my brand was going to, maybe. And so this has kind of really helped with my vision of where I'm going. Maybe I was just stuck. I think I just was stuck. I don't know. It was more
A
than just
weird
a
4
website.
years.
Yeah, it was more than a website. I was
Yeah.
using the website as a scapegoat.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mm.
I feel like we just did like a
You guys
psychoanalysis
just
right now.
got in my head. There's a lot going on in there.
But I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. But now that I have an actual website, now I gotta make I guess, I mean, I've got some copyright on there, but I haven't really obsessed about that part. So this will be a great episode now that I've made it look pretty, now I gotta make it sound pretty.
Well, I mean, that is a perfect transition. We are talking to Katy Taylor Jacobson, who is the lead copywriter and brand communication strategist for Ideaction Consulting. And funny enough, Katy was one of our first podcast guests. I think she's like one of the first 10, maybe.
Yeah, one of the OGs, but this was when
OGs.
she was at a previous company. So now we get to talk about her at her new company and pick her brain about words.
Yeah, that's very true. So Katy, I've known Katy for ever, it seems like, and she was here in Dallas with us at a property at the Four Seasons in Dallas, and we talked to her a little bit about working with venues and how to get on a venue's good list and stay off the bad list, and that was an awesome episode. But now, 4 years later, she's transitioned and now is doing consulting with her husband, Sam Jacobson, #because of engage. Met there.
Love and business.
Now they're married. And she has a background in communications. I'm not sure if she was an English major or communications major or something to that effect, and now uses that to help their clients with their copy.
Awesome. No, I'm excited. This is going to be a great episode for me. So
Is
I'm a little bit, little biased here.
I haven't, honestly, to be honest. I've looked at your website, but I haven't read it line for line. Is there copy on there about?
There is copy, yes, but not a lot. So I might have to hire Katy to look at it and see if I have enough or too much. I don't know.
I actually think I have too much on mine because I can be a little wordy.
No, never.
My emails just translated to a website and there's lots of words.
But I don't know what to ask Katy. I don't know. Is it better to be too much than not enough? I don't know. These are great questions for Katy.
I would think succinct is probably the way to go, and I'm a little verbose. But what can you do?
Yeah.
Katy Taylor Jacobson is the lead copywriter and brand communication strategist for Ideaction Consulting. Katy and the team at Ideaction Consulting help wedding and event professionals find their voice and stand out from their competition. Not stand out by describing how much they love cats or pumpkin spice lattes, but by determining what their clients do, who they really are, and how they make a difference in the lives of their customers. Katy has actual experience selling luxury weddings and events for over 25 years to brides, grooms, their families, and other event professionals.
She knows a thing or two about the way clients buy and what they need to know from you in order to move forward with your services. Because she's walked in your shoes with success, selling over $25 million for brands like Warwick Hotels and Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts.
Let's welcome to the show, Katy Taylor Jacobson.
Welcome to the show, Katy. Once again, we're so excited to have you.
Woo!
Thank you. I'm so excited to be with you guys.
So we always say it, you're one of a select few that has been on the podcast more than once. Annie, we need to calculate. Weren't you going to do a quiz about this?
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
Well, I'm super grateful. I'm really, really excited to be on again. Yeah.
Well, last time we talked to you, you were in a completely different role than you are now. And so we're excited to kind of hear about that transition. So kind of tell us your story, how you got into the wedding industry and then what you're doing now on the other side to help wedding industry entrepreneurs.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks. Do y'all remember that movie back in the late 90s called Sliding Doors?
Oh, yeah. Gwyneth Paltrow.
Right? Best movie ever.
I actually haven't ever seen that.
Oh, sister.
Do I need to add it to my list?
Your Netflix queue right now. Hopefully it's on Netflix.
Sure. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I'm gonna do
seriously so
that.
good. Remember when Gwyneth Paltrow was dating Brad Pitt and she had that really
Oh,
short hairstyle? That was the movie.
yes.
Anyways,
Yeah.
the reason I bring it up is because I kind of feel like all paths, like I took a totally different path after college than I thought I was going to. And yet I feel like now looking back, like all the dots are connected and all paths led me here. So
Oh, yeah. I totally get that in
does that
life.
make sense? Yeah. Okay.
100%.
So so I went to college. I went to Texas A&M and whoop, and I got my journalism degree and with a minor in business. And I really thought I was going to go like the public relations route. And back in that day, like the companies that were really hiring were in the hospitality industry, and that was close enough related to public relations. So I decided to jump in with both feet and proceed down that path. And so I started by really briefly working for the Starwood hotel chain. And then I went to start selling weddings and events for the Warwick Melrose in Dallas. And then for Winwood Catering, which was a luxury caterer. And then Four Seasons Dallas, where I was the director of event sales for 14 years. And so really like what was never intended to be like wedding focused ended up becoming my life and my love. And I loved every minute of it. And then as you know, and maybe many of the listeners know, I met Sam Jacobson at an Engage conference. And I was single and he was single and we met and fell in love because of Engage. And
Okay, Katie, what year
yeah,
was that? I
that
was
was,
trying to think back.
yeah, I'm probably going to totally blow it and Sam's going to laugh, but I think it was 2014 in November.
Okay.
And if you guys are playing the Engage game, that is 2 shots you should have taken by now.
Right. Totally.
Katie, we have the Engage shot game. So every time we say the word engage, you have to take a shot.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. It's like Andy Bravo, like shot ski.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anywho, we met through Engage. There's your shot again, everybody. And he moved to Dallas to work for Todd Events, and we got to kind of fall in love. And life suddenly meant that I was picking up my entire career and moving it across the country after, again, like 20 years selling weddings in Dallas for luxury brands. So all of that to give you that background to say that then all of a sudden I found myself on this tiny little island up near Canada. Sam has, of course, an incredible company, Ideaction Consulting. I was trying to figure out how I was going to continue to serve the industry and stay connected. And all of a sudden, what we were hearing from friends and clients is how much trouble they were having communicating their value and their worth through their website, through their launch copy, through email campaigns, et cetera. And I thought, this is something I actually know how to do and I'm good at and I love, and it pulls on my journalism background. I'm gonna do some really deep dives into some certification around copywriting and see if I could help, serve the community by helping them with the words on their website.
That's awesome. And Katie, I know that you have told me, and I want you to tell everybody
Yeah.
else about some clients that you've had who have seen like significant changes simply from tweaks to their website.
Oh, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I can't share names, but I will say that one of my clients, we did the full copy on her brand. And, she had recently a mother of the bride who quoted the about page, really dug down deep into the copy and ended up quoting the about page. It helped them form a really powerful connection. And the mother of the bride ended up booking this planner's highest package, all because of the words on the website and how they resonated. Well, I shouldn't say all because I'm sure it had a lot to do with the individual as well, but that the copy certainly helped with that introduction and make the relationship, kind of establish the relationship from the beginning.
Well, and the fact that she quoted it, I mean, you're like, clearly you were reading it.
Exactly.
Where I sometimes think people aren't reading it, but clearly they are.
Yes, no, they are. They are absolutely reading it. There's Copy Hackers, which is a copywriting kind of website and tutorial for people in the copywriting business. One of the statistics they share is that 80% of people who land on your site will just be skimming it. 20% of them, though, will read every single word, and those people are your buyers. And that's why it's so important that the words on your website resonate with them.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Annie, as you know, Annie just launched her website, Katy. So we're like
Yes.
super pumped for
Kind of
her.
a big deal.
Yes, very exciting.
Well,
It's
yeah.
been worth the wait.
And I guess the thing that I was kind of saying, I've made it look pretty. Now I need to make it sound pretty. The thing that scares me is kind of like you were saying with people, like, I don't want, I mean, I could talk all day about myself, but I don't want to talk too much. Like, I don't really know, like, what is, where's that sweet spot of like, what's like, what words to use and like how many words to use on your website?
Great question. So you should use as many words as needed to convert the sale, which I know is like a non-answer. So
Like,
let me start.
Formula for that? Can I do like X over?
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I would totally fail if I gave you some sort of formula. What I will tell you is that, well, first of all, I'll just say your website should be a conversation between you and your one reader. So the very first thing that you need to do when you're thinking about the copy on your website is think about who it is you're talking to. So I always start by creating an avatar of my client's reader, who I think is landing on their website. And I'm able to do that because I spend, and I should say we, because we actually have a team of copywriters now that do this because we have so many clients that need help with this. Because you're right, Annie, it's super hard to talk about yourself. It's easier almost to share everything you know with somebody else and then let them ghostwrite for you. But the trying to come up with who this kind of avatar is, we figure that out by doing a deep dive into our client's business, who it is that they tend to work with, who it is that they want to work with, and who their competition is. We call it like a three-legged stool. You have to know all three of those things before you can start writing the copy. And then when you do know those things, it needs to be this natural dialogue. So it needs to transition from second person, being about them. So you talking like you and your, and transition back to first person saying I and we. Does that make
really
sense?
quick. Yeah, totally. Can we go back really quick?
Yeah.
The 3-leg stool. Tell me again what the 3 legs are.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for asking. So the 3 legs are, first, we have to know who it is that we're talking to. Who is the reader? How do they think? How do they feel? How do they make buying decisions? Where in the buyer's journey? What stage of the buying process are they in? We talk about their demographics and their ethographics and their psychographics, and we really kind of get a good picture of what they're going through in terms of the wedding planning process and what they're struggling with, and kind of get into that psyche so that then we can kind of coach a transformation for them and introduce you as being the perfect solution to them. So
I do have a question about that. Do you find that most people who are coming to you already have figured out that perfect avatar? Like, are they already like, I know exactly who this person is and where they shop and all of that? Let's just work on the website. Or are they usually like, I need help with my website and I also don't know who I'm talking to?
Good question. A little bit of both, actually. And it's funny, they often think they know, and then we start going through the questions, and we have about 85 questions that we coach our clients through. And they literally are like, I've got this handful of people that are like this, and I have this handful of people that are like this. And so, who are we writing to right now? I'm a little confused in my own head. And so through that process, we're able to kind of coach out of them who they most likely need to be writing to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. That was leg number 1. Who is the person? Who are we talking to? Who is your ideal client?
Correct. And then we pivot and talk about that second leg, which is you, your products, your services, how they benefit the customer, what you value, how you tend to communicate. I do a really super deep, intense dive of who my client is, how they communicate both in the written word as well as how they speak with their clients. Because it's funny, you guys, the way people talk and the way they write is often so, so different. And your website needs to feel congruent with who you actually are. So it needs to sound like you, whether it's you in the written form or you when you be talking with the client, like one-on-one. And so my goal is always to try to blend those two things together so that when your client finally comes and meets with you, they feel like it does still sound like you.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of my problem because I was a communications major with an English minor. So, like, I love the language and the punctuation and like a perfectly crafted, grammatically correct sentence, which is not really how people talk. So, I think I probably fall into that pattern of like, I love a semicolon comma combination, but it's probably is not as casual or conversational as I am in real life.
Correct. And honestly, when it comes to writing copy on your website, all those rules, pretty much, you're going to hate this because I'm exactly the way you are typically. I mean, Sam calls me Ms. Taylor for a reason because when I worked for the Four Seasons, I was so very formal, best wishes on your recent engagement, blah. And so, and so when I transitioned to writing copy for clients, the role of every line of copy or every word of copy is just to get the next line read. And so sometimes that means using sentence fragments. Sometimes that means letting one word or
Kimberly and I choice over here.
I know. One word or one sentence stand by itself as a paragraph. So it also means like you might be starting a sentence with the word and or but, which is like not something that I was ever raised doing. So, it's like all the rules kind of go out, and you do find that there's a little bit more of like a staccato nature to some of the sentences, and that's used to create like a cadence of how you normally talk in real life.
That's funny. I was a communications major as well, which my husband always jokes I need to get my money back because I'm not the best communicator sometimes. And it's funny. I do talk very different than I write. With like my short-term writing is very just fast. Like there's error, stuff like that. But when I sit down and really focus on writing, that's when my perfectionist comes in. But it is funny. Like I feel like I have almost like two personalities when it comes to my writing.
And I'll tell you, you're not alone. I mean, most people feel that way. In fact, another funny like story about a client I was working with, there was a guy that I was writing for, and he read his copy and he said, I really like these ideas, Katy, and this really does sound great, but I don't think it sounds like me at all. And I said, oh, okay, well, let's dig into that because it's really important to me that you feel like it, connects with who you are. And so he said, well, like this line, like that's not something I would ever say. And I said, okay, well, I record all of our calls. And so I said, may I play this for you? And this is not to throw you under the bus or anything. I just want to show you how what you think you sound like and what you actually do might be different. And anyways, I played it back for him, and it was word for word, verbatim, something he had actually said.
Out of town.
Yeah. So it is funny.
That's so interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's again, that's why I've kind of have gone to a place of I try to kind of blend the two so it does feel true to you, but also, whether it be in written form or audibly.
Okay, so the second part, I'm sorry, I'm kind of like jumping around because I keep interrupting you. Second part is like your product and what you sell. And then the third leg.
Yeah. So the third leg is knowing your competition, and being able to position yourself as opposed to your competition. So I do want to say, and it's really important to me, and this is something that we teach our clients, we do not mean this in a disparaging way. Like we would never suggest ever in copy or even like just out and about talking that you would ever disparage somebody else. But what's shocking to me is how few wedding professionals or event professionals don't know anything about their competition. If I were to say, to somebody like, how do you think if you knew you were up against this person for this piece of business, what would you say to the client to convince them to go with you over them? And I would say 9 times out of 10, the client just sits there like quiet and says, Katy, I don't know. I don't know anything about them. And which sounds crazy to me, because in the hotel world, it was super important that we would know who it was we were selling against. If I was at the Four Seasons and I knew I was selling against the Ritz-Carlton, you better believe I knew what my friend Angela was selling, how much their valet was, what size the ballroom was. But with photography competitors or planning competitors, sometimes that's a little bit more challenging. And people also just, they feel awkward about it. So it's my job to kind of like dig into, who their competition is and their observable differences. Nothing, that you would have to like secret shop them to know, but just to the general public, what would be an observable difference between you and your competition, so that I can figure out how we're going to position you differently through your website copy.
Yeah, I like it.
Does that make sense?
And I feel like if you asked me that question, I probably would be like the 9 out of 10. Where like for some people, I could definitely be like, here is how we're different. And then there would be a whole nother slew of competitors, I'm using air quotes, that I would be like, I don't know.
Right. Well, and look at it this way, like, I don't know, Kimberly, but do you, on your planning side of the business, do you do a flat rate or a percentage, or how percentage, right? And so if you were a planner and you were on a flat rate, that would be an observable difference. And that would be something that you could talk about when trying to position against you.
For sure. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I actually drew a little 3-legged stool, you guys, in my notes here with it. So I might
and
have
I'm
to
sure
take a
it's
picture
so
of that.
cute.
But no, this is interesting, because I never I never really thought about that. But yeah, I know my competition, but I don't really know how they're selling. That's a good idea. So note to self, be a creeper.
Yeah, and it's, again, I don't think, I do a comp set analysis for my clients, like on their behalf. For me, though, I'm not calling them and like, again, I don't secret shop anybody.
Yeah, not that.
I'm not going to do anything nefarious, but but I do go on their website and I do look at what messages are they putting out to the general public. What are they saying they value? Are they using copy in a compelling way? So I do that for my clients, so they can kind of help to start creating those positioning statements.
Katy, I do have a question. You started to go into this, and then I think I sidetracked you, but you were saying something about the use of you versus I, like first person versus third person. I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit, because that's something, honestly, I've struggled with on my website, because I just haven't known what to do, to be honest. Like, should I write my bio from a first person standpoint? Because I see other people doing that, and I'm like, maybe that's the right way to go. Sometimes I think it sounds a little more professional when it's third person, like you would hear a bio read, like, you know what I mean, about a speaker or something. It's always in third person. I would love to hear your thoughts, because I honestly don't know that I know the right way to do it.
Side note, if you ever want to send us a bio, please put it in third person.
Yes. When you have a bio that you're sending to have somebody else read, it should definitely be in third person. And, for those of people that may get confused, first person is I and we. Second person is you and your. Third person is he, she, it, they. So,
English lesson 101.
Yeah. It's confusing for people. They're like, wait,
no, I love it.
So, okay, so let's just take it from like a homepage standpoint. When people land on your homepage, and I haven't mentioned this yet, and I should have, part of knowing who your one reader is knowing the things that they are saying. In the copywriting world, that's called voice of customer. So how do you get voice of customer? You get voice of customer by actually asking your clients about their experiences, by getting them to share with you, we call it a transformational testimonial, by asking them certain questions that tell you, here was the problem that we were dealing with in finding a planner, photographer, videographer, florist. Here were our biggest concerns. Here's why we hired you over anybody else we were considering. And here was our experience working with you. And so that little kind of story arc, y'all know that book Story Brand? Okay. Well, they teach about this story arc and how important it is to, craft this message where you kind of help the reader move through like pains and problems, and then you enter in as a guide in this perfect solution, and then help them kind of on their journey. And so finding out that kind of transformational testimonial is a key part of knowing your one reader, and then pulling out voice of customer, meaning pulling out certain things that they say and making sure that their exact words that you see over and over again your clients say are actually on your homepage of your website. Because the goal of your website, well, I'll talk about that in a minute, but the goal of your website when they land on it is for them to see themselves on your website. So you start out by saying you and your, talk in second person and talk to them. Like, I see you with, 20 Chrome tabs open, you who have been searching random hashtags on Instagram for hours and still haven't found the style of photography you're looking for, you who, da 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 da. I see what you're going through. I understand how difficult this is. But guess what? I've got a solution for you. By the way, I'm making all this up. I'm just.
I mean, you're a great little copywriter, Katy.
No. And then transitioning to the about intro on your homepage where you say, "Hi, I'm Katy Taylor Jacobson. This is who I am. This is what I do. And this is why I think I'm the perfect fit for you. Click here to read more." And then it would take you to the about page. So I don't know if that makes sense, Annie, what I was saying, but like, you start out by making sure that they see themselves, they recognize themselves, and then you transition into talking a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I have a question about that. Okay. And I'm saying that as I'm looking at my own website.
I know. Hypothetically speaking, if you're a wedding planner in Dallas.
If you're a wedding planner in Dallas, I hear what you're saying about like your bio being first person, because you're like, "Hi, I'm Kimberly and I can help you."
Correct.
I totally get that. If you have a team, are each of their, if they have their own bios or backgrounds that are on your website, are theirs also in first person?
Great question. So first of all, I should say, if you are a team on your homepage, it's assuming that the team is what you're selling, that a team of support at Hitched events, for example, you would want to speak as we instead of I, right? When you transition to the about page, again, you should still be talking in first person, so I or we, and you should be talking in a way that benefits the client. So I know that's not the question you asked, but I do want to make sure I address this point. So many event professionals talk about themselves on their about page, like, I love to travel, I love cats, I love, flat white lattes, or whatever. But that's while that may be cute and while they might find that interesting, what they really want to know is, what is it that you value? How is it that you work? And how is that going to benefit me? And so that's really how you should be talking on your website. Kimberly, in answer to your question about like specific people, it should still be in first person. It can just be like for instance, I have a client who she has a letter basically from her to her brides. Like, it's like, basically kind of welcoming them and so forth. And then each of her sub-planners that work with her, there's like a small, like, little bio on each of them as well. But it's all still written in first person, first and second.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would kind of be the same for you guys, because you have a lot of copywriters. Like, you have several people on your team. It's not just you and Sam anymore.
Correct.
So then it would be the we.
Yeah, and I think it depends on how important it is to you to have a bio on every person. I have a lot of clients, like,
that's true.
So for like us, we're actually in the process of redoing our own website right now. And so there is a page about copywriting, and it just talks in the big we. But because Sam and I are Ideaction Consulting, there is a separate bio page on us, and it is from us to the reader. It is a conversation between me and the reader. So it alternates between first and second person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. My website is totally wrong because I'm literally looking at my bio on my website, which is written in third person. It's like written about me.
Right.
from
Like something
this
you would
mysterious
submit.
third person.
Right. One of my clients said it's called the movie promo guy voice.
Yeah,
Which I thought was
totally.
hilarious.
Kimberly Rhodes started her company in
Right.
2000.
Right.
Yeah, that's totally how mine reads, though, which is interesting. I'm glad you're setting me straight.
You're in good company. Trust me. There's lots of people who do that. And again, the third person bio is necessary for like when you submit because you're going to be speaking at an event, or, you know, submitting because you're going to be on a podcast and someone wants to read your bio off. So there is definitely a place for a third person written bio, but it's not your website.
Yeah. That's a good takeaway. Annie, your new website, is your bio on there?
It is, yeah, and it's in first person.
Oh, you're winning. Hashtag winning. You didn't have a website for 4 years, but when you did it right.
I'm finally winning, guys. I do that. I do. It's just like meet Annie, and then it has me in first person, and then it's like meet Michelle, and then Michelle's in first person.
Yeah,
too,
perfect.
so.
Perfect.
Look at you, Annie. It was worth the wait. You did it right.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it right. I guess we'll see.
Exactly.
So, Katie, what are like some of the, other than that, what I'm doing wrong, like what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making on their website copy?
Well, so I think the first one was, you know, asking what you said about the I versus we.
Katie, I have a quick question for.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's almost like a new thing. Like I feel maybe like in the past like couple years, but I'm just like in my mind like thinking of looking at websites just even a couple years ago. You never really saw that I.
Correct.
Is that a new thing, or am I just crazy? Am I just like finally now just reading websites because I've got one?
You know, I do think conversion copy is what this type of copywriting is called, and I do think it is something that has hit other industries long before it hit ours. You know, but in the digital marketing world, conversion copy has been around for quite some time, and I think it's just now that it's starting to. You're seeing it more and more infiltrate the event and wedding world.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So mistake number one, Kimberly, the first person versus third person versus second person. You know, I always tell people, go through your website. If you want to do like a little self audit, look at your homepage, count up the number of times you talk about yourself, I, we, versus you, your. Start there. And then do what you can to pivot some of the statements where you're kind of self-serving or talking about yourself, and try to start to pivot them more to talking about the client. So like if you have a section on your homepage, which you should, that's like my process, try to change that to something like your experience, so that again, it's like a small shift. It means the exact same thing, but it now makes a client feel like they're seen and heard versus it being just about what you're trying to sell them.
You like it.
Okay.
So that would be one.
Change process to your okay. Just some notes here. Okay.
So that would be one. I would say another one is thinking that people don't read copy, and so they're not putting any copy on whatsoever. Photographers, tend to be kind of guilty of this because, obviously they're a visual medium and they want to get their photography work out there, which they absolutely should. So they have all these really beautiful like hero images and a carousel on their website, and then there's like no substance there. And I think the idea in their mind is that must be because people don't read copy. But as we just talked about, 20% of your clients who land on your site will absolutely read your copy. They won't read crappy copy and they won't read copy they can't read because your font is too light or it's too scripty or too weird. But if, they actually want to absorb the content and get that from you. So that would be definitely another mistake that I see a lot. And then I'd say the third big one is the about page, which we talked about, which is just when the about page comes from a place of, just sharing what your hobbies are versus providing substance that really matters to the client.
Katie, do people get kind of wrapped up with just talking in like keywords versus meaningful words? Like I am basically 85 years old. Like I'm just now learning how to, websites and stuff like that. But like I always heard, you always hear those like SEO keywords, all that you want on your website. But how do you find that balance of having keywords, but also have meaningful copy and not obsess over those keywords?
Yeah, great question. So there, there's a guy, a lot of people know him, Neil Patel. He runs a site called Crazy Egg. He's like a digital marketing guru. And I always go back to what he says, which is that you should prioritize the actual humans reading your work over search engines. So start from a place of what is the information that you want to make sure that your clients know, and then worry about SEO. So you could write copy and then have an SEO expert come in and optimize it if you want. But I would not ever start your copy from a place of, I need to make sure that I hit these keywords first. You can focus on SEO. Some real like kind of low hanging fruit to focus on would be like, the meta description, which is that little like snippet of copy when you Google and it shows your company name. And then there's that like kind of preview text. You can put some SEO in there, or your URL titles being actual, corresponding with the actual page that you're talking about. Writing a content blog, that's a great way for SEO to boost your SEO. But starting from a place of, I got to make sure the SEO is like ringing true on your website before it's like, definitely start with copy and then focus on SEO.
That's my next step. Ugh.
Is copy or SEO?
SEO.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
it's like a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. There are lots of really incredible people out there who are making.
Gosh, why didn't they make the internet easier? Come on, Al Gore. Why didn't you make it easier?
Exactly. But I started to say something earlier, and I do want to make sure, I'm sorry I kind of am jumping all over a little bit, but I do want to make sure it's important to talk about, why your website is there in the first place. And just a reminder for people, when I kind of was talking about the, vendors that don't really have much copy on their site and why that's not serving them. First we have to remember, like, your website is your online store, right? It's open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And the copy on your site is like the salesperson that's greeting you. So you walk into the Gap, if nobody were in the store to help you, like, maybe that would be okay if you weren't exactly sure what it was you were looking for and just wanting to browse. But if you were ready to buy and there was nobody standing behind the cash register or nobody to kind of orient you in the store or unlock that stupid, room so you could go try on clothes, you'd be pretty irritated. And so that's what your copy is doing. It's orienting your clients, telling them who you are, what you offer, how it's going to benefit them. It helps with the checkout process. It does all of those things. And it does that for different clients who are at different stages of the buying process, who are either completely unaware of what you offer or totally ready to buy. And so your copy is going to kind of help walk those people through the process. And then for those of you... go ahead.
What you're saying is Annie needed a website.
Yes, I'm so proud of you for that. But yes, 100%.
Taking little bows, you guys. Taking little bows.
Well, and two, you guys, today there are so many, especially if people are in like the luxury space, or even possibly if they have a lot of clients who, like, if their reader is in the kind of the millennial generation, there is like this group think tank that is involved in making decisions. And so the copy on your site has to be able to help those people who may not be at the other end of an email exchange with you get to know you. If a bride is involving mom and dad and bridesmaids in her decision-making process, how are they going to establish a relationship with you?
Yeah. I mean, I have really I've gotten by with not having a website, but just because I was very word of mouth, and, I was very, very lucky to have these amazing planners and amazing clients come to me, versus, but I needed that website for the validation. And that I think that was really that's how I think I would maybe lose some sales, is just needing that validation. Like, yeah, I could send you to Instagram, but I needed something more that can control, like a website that would really, show that I'm here. I do show up to the office every day. These are my hours. I am legit, and I am putting money in a website, and things like that, just as validation. But now in this digital world, I think I can even use it as a way to get clients. That's the next step.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I would imagine for somebody like you, Annie, who oftentimes, at least I would guess that oftentimes the client's not finding you necessarily organically. They're finding you either through a referral or even through like a vendor referral. And if the vendor has given them 3 options to look at, right? Your website has to do the heavy lifting of the sales
I mean,
work
I
for
know
you.
me, I'm snobby. I would have been like, okay, they got a prettier website, so I'm gonna go with them. Like I know how I pick things, or like, like that
Right.
has a prettier wine bottle label, so I'm gonna drink that wine, It's just like, just goofy little things. Like I know like the snobbiness of just aesthetics for me. And that's like my ideal client. So I was really kicking myself by not doing that.
Well, and I think the point too with this whole topic is like the aesthetics. Like, yes, if you're looking at 4 different websites, you're probably going to narrow down a little bit. But then if you're really interested, like if you're really going to make that buying decision, those are the people that are reading
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
reading the copy.
exactly. I mean, think about it. Think about it like when you're trying to book travel. You decide like you want to go to a country, and you're like trying to orient yourself, right? You might start off, like I said, completely unaware, like, oh, I think we're going to go to Greece. And then you kind of dig in and start to do more research. And then you dig in and start to do more research. And maybe you land on a hotel's website and you don't read everything about the hotel right away, but you're like, that's a pretty one. And you kind of bookmark it to go back to. But when it comes time, like that, you're going to go ahead and book that hotel room, you're going to go back and read all about it. How far is it from the airport? And what kind of amenities are included? And do they include things that are of interest to me? Well, it's the same exact experience when clients are landing on your website. And they need to be kind of walked through that process. It's why your homepage kind of orients them and sends them down whatever rabbit hole that's, next of most interest to them, whether it be your about page or your services page. And then your services page maybe leads to their portfolio. And then the portfolio leads to ultimately that they're going to contact you.
These have been some really good tips. Like I feel like just from this conversation we've had, I'm like, have some actionable things that I could definitely do for sure. My question is, Katy, if someone's listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, there are some actionable things I need to do, but I just have no desire to do them. How can they find you? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So you can find us through ideactionconsulting.com. It's like idea and action combined, just with one A, consulting.com. And there is a website full of rich content and copy. Again, one that's being updated currently, but there's some good copy on there now, and there's information about copywriting specifically. You can also email me at katy@ideactionconsulting.com, and I'm a Katy.
Awesome. And we will put all of those links in the show notes on the website so people can get to them directly.
I have a
Thanks for coming back.
Can I ask
sorry.
one little quick question. Like this kind of goes for our ending, but now that like, people have looked at their copy, they need to look over, or like, how often should you change your copy?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Once you have really great copy on your site, meaning you've got, copy that talks about who you are, what you value, how that benefits the client, unless you have a new service offering or you are majorly changing who the players are, you're probably pretty safe to leave it for a while. That being said, I should say this, you need to be going on your website once a week to make sure all the things are still working correctly. Totally not part of what we're talking about today, but I do have a ton of clients who have broken links. The link to an image is no longer working, or an actual like call to action button is not working properly, or it's going to an errant page. So I do recommend once a week, jump on your site, just make sure it's still working properly and giving you all the data points that you want it to. But other than that, it's something that, again, unless you're making major sweeping changes, you're, adding in a giant new service, you probably don't have to change it very often.
Perfect. Katy, thank you for making it into the Two Timers Club and coming back to chat with us. And we'll link to all of the things and let people know how to
and we will
rewrite.
Confirm that those links are working.
Perfect. Yeah. Do it.
And don't forget, if you've gotten value out of the podcast, including this week's episode, we would love for you to contribute to our Patreon page.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. We've got several different levels that are very economical, and they just help us produce quality education and quality episodes just like this one.
Exactly. You can go to thisweekinweddings.com/support as little as 10 cents a day helps us with our out-of-pocket expenses.
Thank you.